Welcome back. It's the holiday season, and that's when families and friends get together.
But for those who can't do so physically, technology has really helped in letting those you care about know that you are thinking about them, especially when you send e-cards or even sending presents that you might have bought online.
That's right, but everything has its dark side, and technology is no different. One danger lurking amid all the holiday cheer is an increase in holiday-themed spam, according to an online security company.
Tell us more about it this morning and how we can stay safe is technology expert Bjorn Engelhardt from Symantec. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So what are the trends you're seeing this year? Is there anything new that's, kind of hitting us this holiday season especially?
It's become a bit of an annual tradition that around festive seasons like Christmas or Chinese New Year coming up in a few months' time, that the spammers try to find different ways and creative ways to attack us. So right at the moment we're seeing the spammers, these are the cyber criminals out there sending us emails saying, hey, there's a Christmas sale on, or there's a Christmas delivery for you. And when you open that email up there, it either tends to try and offer you something like, here's some really cheap products to go and buy, which generally aren't legitimate, or it wants you to click on a link which will take you to some sort of website that's there to try and extract personal information from you.
Right, very clever. Well, what actually happens if we click on it?
So most people think, hey, I'm pretty safe if I click on it, it's just a website. But two things can happen. One, you'll go to a website that you may think is legitimate and it'll ask you for some personal information. Right. And it's a common attack around what we call phishing, where people will think they're at a bank's website or a e-commerce website, and they'll put their username, their password in, and they'll start exchanging that information with these criminals, who will then use that for their own purposes. The other thing that happens quite often is that when you go to a website that's been infected, it'll download what we call some malware or spyware onto your machine that will then sort of start monitoring your behavior, start looking at which websites you're going to, your usernames, your passwords, and maybe even your banking information, and start extracting money from you.
Wow.
Now, most of us will have some kind of antivirus software on our computers. Is that enough? Is that effective enough to prevent us from being infected by these guys?
I think it's a great start. But if you look at the trends, last year at Symantec alone, we stopped over 5.5 billion. That's 5.5 billion different types of malware attacks. And there are a lot of techniques they use with things such as polymorphic viruses, which really means that you take one brand of virus or one strain and it keeps on replicating and multiplying in different forms, so it tricks a lot of the antivirus software. So antivirus software will stop anything coming onto your machine, but it won't stop you actually entering your personal information online. It won't stop you actually downloading certain types of other malware as well.
How do you know if you're a victim of spyware or malware? Is there a way that you can tell, or are you just sitting there innocently typing away and someone is looking at everything that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think this is where technology comes in. So we always recommend that you need to have some form of internet security. And internet security, they're not all the same out there, and you really should be looking for different types of attacks. Some is behavioural driven, some is really looking at reputation based out there as well. You could see your machine may slow down a little bit, but generally this is an area where technology really plays an important part, and you need to make sure that you've got the latest updates, that you're continuing to update that software on a regular basis. I could also recommend that there are free tools out there, at least on the Symantec website. There's a tool called the Power Eraser, which you can download for free. It will scan for any spyware and also remove that spyware as well. And probably now is a good time to do that, just before Christmas, before you do that last-minute purchase.
And I guess, I mean, there are different kinds, because the ones that lurk on your computer without your knowing, those are the more dangerous ones. I mean, if I just click an ad and it shows me a banner or something to buy and it's gone, that's fine, but you're worried about the ones that stay and are being, I guess, hoping to get more information from you in a more long-term sort of usage. So these kind of things, as you mentioned, we may not know till later. You may not even sense your computer slowing down. Should you just scan it every week, what?
So I would always recommend you should be scanning every minute, hour. Every time you run a program, your internet security software should be scanning that program to say, hey, I've known this is an accurate copy of what I originally purchased. There are no more viruses on there. Every time you go to a website, you should be looking for a few things. For example, when you go to a website, it'll come up with a little padlock in the browser bar to say this is a secure website. So whatever you're exchanging between you and that website is encrypted. You should be looking for a green browser bar. that says this site is verified and trusted by one of the authorities out there. There are many tricks, and yeah, I guess the most important one is to be safe and to be thinking about what you're doing. If an offer on a website or an email looks too good to be true, it usually is. No one's giving you anything for nothing. Even though Santa Claus comes at Christmas time, there isn't anything as a free gift from the cyber criminals.
Yeah. Well, what about where we log on? That's important too, isn't it? In public spaces, places, as opposed to at home. What are some of the things that we should be wary of when we log on in public spaces?
I think, firstly, the very simple one, let's make sure, is anyone looking at you over your shoulder whether it's on your machine or whether it's a public machine? What information are you putting in there? Do you know this machine? Is it an internet cafe, for example? I would be very careful. Personally, I wouldn't be putting any of my banking information onto any machine that I didn't have full control on. But we can also look beyond the PCs. We've got mobile devices today. So our own smartphones or our tablets are now become a major area of exposure as well for us. So when you're using your tablet and your smartphone, people think, oh, it's okay, it's just a simple device, but it has the same risk. It has the same potential threats as you would see on your PC as well. But
is that a lot safer since it's your own device, and as long as you don't lose the machine itself, are you safe to sort of transact wherever you are, whichever network you might be on?
I think you always have to be considerate of what you're doing, what websites you're going to, making sure you have the latest security software loaded on that. There is never, education and smart common sense is number one. Making sure that you've really got the latest security software is always the way. These criminals are just progressing so quickly, and if you haven't, you can't keep up with them. If we're stopping 5.5 billion threats in a year, you can think of how quickly that's evolving.
And just very quickly, is protecting your smartphone or tablet different to protecting your PC at home?
It is, because you've got different usage patterns on it. You're running different applications. I think if you're looking at your smartphone, for example, I'd recommend that you only get applications from a trusted store, whether that's the iTunes store or the Google Marketplace, etc. Never download third-party applications that haven't been verified.
I just want to ask you one more. So if I'm out somewhere and I have to use a public computer for some transactions that are personal, is there any way, if I clear the history, is that good enough? Clear the cache?
So clearing the history is a good part, making sure that when you're actually going to that website, as I said before, that you've got that padlocker, that it's an encrypted site, making sure it's got the check mark to say that it's a verified site as well. They're the key things that you should be looking for.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in. Good reminders as we celebrate Christmas.
And that was Bjorn sharing some Symantec, or some advice, I guess. He's from Symantec, an online